Halloween
Forever.
Hey guys, I have a poem for you. Do you want to hear it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Senior citizens are the nation's leading carriers of aids, hearing aids, band-aids, roll aids, walking aids, medical aids, government aid, and most of all monetary aids to their children. The golden years have come at last. I cannot see, I cannot pee, I cannot chew, I cannot screw. My memory shrinks, my hearing aid stinks, no sense of smell, I look like hell. My body's drooping, got trouble pooping, so the golden years have come at last. Well, the golden years can kiss my... Sent to me by friend Dorothea.
Oh, boys and girls. Welcome to a fucking very special minisode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
Okay, I take one exception to that. We all know Dorothea can screw.
She does.
You know,
she did
girl-
get around a little bit, yeah.
You know, girl gets down. So
Yeah.
that's some bullshit. My grandfather had the latter part of that, the super rhymey part at the end, on a sign in his wood shop. I think it's probably still there.
What
I
is
have
it
not been in
about?
there in a while.
What is it about old grandfathers' wood shops that have the most ridiculous things in them?
Yeah.
My great grandfather had like this hunting shanty that just had a bunch of like half naked women and just like weird signs like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Moral
oh
of
my
the
God,
story: old men are perverts.
See, now, if it's those goofy ass sayings, I guarantee that comes from a family member.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
you can put this up in your
I
shed.
guarantee, yes, you're 100% right in this instance. My Aunt Jill, I guarantee you printed that out for him because he does not have a computer or a printer. So I guarantee you she printed it out for him and he put it up on the wall in his wood shop.
Yeah, but then if it's pervert shit, they put that up themselves.
Yeah. But then when there's just a stack of, Sick Bush Monthly or whatever the old dudes subscribe to, that's all him.
Unpruned hedges.
They appreciated it.
That's
you know?
the highbrow version of it.
Yeah.
Your grandfather subscribes to Unpruned Hedges. Mine subscribes to Sick Bush Monthly. Oh, God. All right.
Man.
If you haven't guessed already with the quote from Dorothea, we are going to talk about, we're going to do something very special. We're going to talk about the first episode of the Netflix true crime series, The Worst Roommate Ever. And then Meg actually, coincidentally, owns a cookbook by the murderer, as one does, and has prepared a yummy dish from the cookbook, which she is... we are recording virtually here because as I'm looking outside, it is almost April and it is a fucking blizzard conditions outside right now.
Yeah. Fucking smart weather.
Cool. So Meg is just going to enjoy her yummy snack.
So good.
And just taunt us with it as I drink cold coffee right now. So cool. Meg, you're way more knowledgeable on this. Do you want to do a little high level overview of like who Dorothea is and like a little bit about her story?
Sure, yeah, and we can just like kind of talk a little bit about her like through the episode too. I think that'll be good. So, if no one remembers when we talked about on another mini-isode when I went down to New Orleans and went to the Museum of Death, this is where I saw the cookbook that Dorothea Puente worked with Shane Bugbee to put out, and she had a bunch of recipes. So I was super intrigued right off the bat. And that visit was probably the first time I ever heard of her. But she has an interesting story, and it just kind of worked out that Netflix also did a story about her. So it's really awesome.
Yeah.
So Dorothea Puente, she was a convicted serial killer. And in the 80s, she ran a boarding house in Sacramento, California, and murdered various elderly and mentally disabled borders. And then also by proxy, she was stealing money from them, stealing their mail, like the whole nine.
I mean, that's the biggest crime in my mind is stealing mail. That's a federal offense, guys.
Top tier. She should have been at least convicted on that crime.
Yeah, come on.
So,
she's an all around bad person. She's not cool. She's not nice. She's weirdly interesting. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't already, again, spoilers for this here Netflix True Crime series, TM.
Spoilers for this real life event.
Spoilers for this thing that happened on the Earth a long time ago.
In case you missed it.
Yeah. But Megan's just eating ham. I like that.
Yeah. It's like sitting in front of me. And I'm
actually,
like,
I love ham so much. I actually may have ham. I have some ham and bean soup left over that I made the other night that I'm definitely going to eat right after this because now I'm craving ham.
Yeah. Side story. There is a market near CNC Malt out in Butler that I go there every time I'm working up there to get a hot ham and cheese. But last time I was there, they had ham salad and I almost bought it for you. But next time I won't make that mistake.
Yeah. So Ben sent me earlier today or this morning a sign for Portman's Flea Market, which I don't know where that is. And it just has like, one of those signs where you put the letters on themselves, like what the specials are. And all the sign says is ham salad weekend. And I was like, I want every weekend to be ham salad weekend. So I would say I have a sneaking suspicion Ben is kind of the architect of what our next Showdown episode is going to be because he suggested it. Somehow influenced Steve's randomizer wheel to pick it.
I cannot explain it. And I put it into the list and it came up.
Then influenced everyone to vote on it and it won by a landslide. So if you didn't listen to last episode, Ben is slowly taking over our show and manipulating us from the inside. I think that was a
collective win because I think this was more so Jen actually pushing everyone to vote. She was like, please don't ruin my life.
Yeah, that's true. So that's what my question was. Who is the squatchaholic? I don't know. What do you call somebody who's into squatches?
Yeah, I think squatchaholic is fine.
I'd drink it.
Yeah. Who among them are both of them squatchers or is it one or the other?
I think Ben is more of the squatchaholic, but Jen needs to keep the household happy.
I see. Okay. Yeah, Ben strikes me as more of the squatcher. Yeah, he describes me more of a squatcher. Anyway, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, Bigfoot horror is going to be our Showdown episode for next month. So before we get into all this Dorothea craziness and murder and pathological lying and ham, let's talk about our picks for the Showdown episode. Actually, Sam, be drinking beers in front of him? Should we talk about beers? I have cold coffee. We are recording an unusual morning recording, which I don't know if we've ever done before. So I have not jumped into the beers yet. I'm taking my children to a musical this afternoon. So perhaps
are you sure that's the right choice to like not be drunk?
Yeah,
you might start just jumping
Matilda
up and singing
in a high school musical. Yeah, we took them a few weeks ago to the Elwood High School Musical to see Willy Wonka, and they fucking loved it. So we're going to see Matilda because we got them a set of Roald Dahl books for Christmas, and we're going through we're like obsessively reading through every Roald Dahl book. So coincidentally, the two local high schools are doing musicals of Roald Dahl books, which is really weird. I suspect Ben is also somehow involved with that. I don't know why. Now he's just the architect of my life, apparently. So we're doing that this afternoon. But
he's the true owner of Tubi.
The Truby.
The Truby.
He's the one Truby.
Are you a Truby? I think, Brian, I think you are a Truby. I think you
I am.
Yeah.
I think I am.
That would explain why there's so many Bigfoot movies on Tubi, though.
Oh, my God. I typed in, it was, conservatively, 45?
Right. It's a
maybe more. Maybe more. In any case, are you guys drinking beers we want to talk about them? Like I said, I got cold coffee. I have no beer in front of me.
I don't have much exciting, but I did decide this morning that since I was cooking myself food for the episode, that I was going to pair it with a beer mosa. So I have Icy Light as the base, and I got Turner's orange juice to couple that. Yeah, pretty bomb.
Icy Light and Turner's. That is the most. That shouldn't even be called a beer mosa. That should be called like a yins mosa.
Yeah.
That is the most yinzer thing I've ever heard. Maybe ever heard.
It really is.
You're eating a ham steak and drinking a blend of Icy Light and Turner's
that's
orange
the
juice.
picture.
I didn't even know Turner's made orange juice.
I didn't either.
It was at John Eagle. So, yeah.
And you got it from John Eagle. This perhaps is the single most yinzer moment in the history.
Yeah.
If you were smoking like a Jenny Slim right now, Virginia Slim, like as you were eating it, it's the only thing that would make it more yinzer. Cool. Steve, you got anything?
I do have a beer. I picked the beer because it's a cherry beer, so I figured that's like brunch, sort of.
Yeah.
But I got the cherry shoof. The old shoof.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
We used to drink the was it Hoffenschoof back in the day, like crazy. Love those beers. Now I want a beer, you guys.
Right.
So let's get into these here squatching movies. Who wants to go first? I have a top 3, and I'm going to react to you guys.
I think. Well, here's the thing.
We might all have that same plan.
I think we all have the same top 3, and then just through research, because I think the choices were we could go with the top 3, or we do another one like we did last time with the Old West movies.
We did.
You know you're handing me a win if you do that, right?
Yeah. I'm not doing that.
I'm always down for slumming.
There's so much slumming though in Bigfoot movies,
I know.
but the one I'm choosing I think is actually a good one. I watched it. I said this is a competent movie. It was actually
the highest compliment of any Tubi Sasquatch movie can receive.
Yeah, it was.
He leaves. I am satisfied.
This is in fact a functional motion picture.
Yeah, that's all I could ask for. But the movie exists from 2014.
Okay,
and it's directed by Eduardo Sanchez, who is the director of the Blair Witch Project.
Yes. This is always at the top of people's, as I was doing a little research, squatching movie lists. Everyone,
Yeah, it was very competent. He also is like he directed an episode of that new show Yellow Jackets. If anybody's watching that, he's got a lot of TV credits after VHS 2 and exists. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. I think it's a good movie. It's a competent movie, and at the very least, I might just win a second vote.
We'll see about that.
We shall see.
Yeah, so I had Exist on my top list, like we kind of talked about, but I'm actually leaning towards Willow Creek, and that's going to be my pick. I'm pretty excited. I like that movie from the first time I saw it. I think I tried to use it in another showdown, but it just wasn't exact. Oh, yeah, maybe one of the first ones. But
yeah, you tried to pick that at the very
the camp
up here behind the curtain. Before we recorded our very first showdown, Meg tried to pick Willow Creek as a summer camp slasher. I said, no, that's a Bigfoot movie.
No, but I was looking at it as camp slasher, and so I was like, well, they're camping. Okay, Steve. Right. All right. I was a noob. I was a noob in this game, guys.
Does the Squatch have some sharp blade that he's attacking with?
You know what? I would actually attend a summer camp that was like Bigfoot themed. I totally would.
Yeah. It's funny because I don't gravitate. I love gravitate. Jesus Christ, I can't talk today. My brain is fully broke. I love cryptids. I love, Mothman and all this types of wild shit. I've never necessarily gravitated towards Bigfoot, Squatch, Yeti type of stuff. It always seemed too cute to me.
Yeah, and I also think that was like the one that everyone knew about and everyone talked about. It's not like we're always bringing up the Boggy Creek Monster or and
or
like
Wendigo or something like that, like Skinwalker Ranch and shit like that. I love all that stuff. I just always felt like Bigfoot was a little bit too like friendly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is Bigfoot your best friend? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
He just looks you in the eyes when he shakes your hand. He's very polite.
That's a very Harry and the Hendersons bias.
Yeah,
from our childhood. So
yeah, that's probably very, very
accurate
accurate.
About that movie, but yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas every other cryptid is presented as a monster for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's very true. I'm sure that he's cute, he's lovable, he hangs around, he loves kids, that sort of stuff. When in reality, wild animal, murderous wild animal.
Yeah.
So you guys have taken the two movies that I thought were quality Sasquatch films. So now this is happening, you motherfuckers. I am going with a film from 2004, directed by a man named Dave Wascavage. Not David Muscavage, the leader of Scientology, although I feel like there probably is some link here, because this guy
alternate
is
universe type
clearly part of the Illuminati in some capacity. The film is called Suburban Sasquatch, boys and ghouls. I don't give a fuck. I'm going scorched earth, nuclear option here. And just, you know what? If I lose, I don't care, because this movie is so stupid and fun to talk about. If you like your Squatches buxom, boy, you're going to like this fucking movie. If you like CGI blood spraying, if you like...
CGI boulders.
If you like this noise, you are going to love this movie. It is free on Tubi, as you might expect. If you haven't experienced it, here's what you need to do. Get an apple. Hollow that apple out. Or whatever, anything you can find to put THC in your brain. Do that, then watch this movie and have the time of your life. That's all I'm going to say about Suburban Sasquatch. For those of you, those who know. Those who don't are about to be in for a goddamn treat. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I'm
doing the Lorb's work.
Is that Ben? Is that who your Lorb is?
Yeah, it's slowly starting to convince me that's it. Fast forward a month from now, and he's got like power of attorney over me. He's like raising my children. It's a whole thing.
Kate's like, what the fuck?
No, she's on board. She's forgot all about me. I'm in a dog box out back.
When did Ben start deciding what Sly Fox was brewing? That's weird.
Yeah, he takes over the social media. It's all Squatch related.
This episode is dedicated to Ben.
Yeah,
we all next episode.
Tattoos on our lip with some sort of Squatch related material. All right, so once again, boys and ghouls, we are going Willow Creek. Meg is going with Willow Creek. Steve is going with Exists, and I am bringing up the rear per usual with Suburban Sasquatch. So go ahead and watch every single one of those back to back to back, as we always suggest is the case, and get ready to discuss some. My brain and my mouth are not connected this morning as we discuss some Squatch-tastic voyages. Okay. As always, if you want to help us with these types of things and you want to help us pick topics, suggest topics, even for minisodes, or just vote on the topics that the wheel draws and we ultimately vote on and discuss in their showdown episodes, check us out on the social medias. If you just type in Halloween is Forever, honestly, it's going to fucking come up. But it's Halloween is Forever at Halloween is Forever on Instagram, Halloween is Forever podcast on Facebook, at Hallow Forever on Twitter, Halloween is Forever Pod on TikTok, Halloween is Forever Pod at gmail.com for
Hey guys, I think we have like 35 followers on TikTok now.
Nice.
38.
Holy
nice.
shit.
We're doing it.
Shit. we are still pressing towards our 10,000 followers on the Instagram, and we are getting closer and closer to 40 on the TikTok. We're taking the young kids by storm. All the kids out there are wearing Jenkos with Halloween's Forever patches on them. It's pretty much gone global.
And it's worth following all 3 accounts because we each run one.
Yeah, that's true. So yes, we should probably
you get different content on all of them.
It is. We have our own unique personality. Steve does the Twitter. He mostly complains about superhero movies and stuff like that.
They're not great.
I post Halloween stuff, and I made popcorn balls last night. And Meg does once a month does a TikTok of some ill repute.
I just can't respect comments from someone who doesn't even look at my TikToks. Okay,
I don't know what it is. I'm scared of it.
They're pretty fun. You should look at them.
Yeah. I'll get around to it. Listen, the app, it's still downloading. I have 56K dial-up modem. It's going to take a week or 2 to download.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get back to our friend Dorothea here. So you've given us a little bit of an overview of what she kind of is notorious for. It is a very good example of a person who just obviously suffers from some mental illness, had a horrible childhood, abusive, alcoholic parents. I would be blown away to learn there wasn't some sort of, abuse at the hands of other people in her life. As she grew up, she was an orphan in foster care, and then basically on her own from mid-teens on, right? Worked as a sex worker for a lot of that time. So not trying to justify the things she did. Obviously, you have to take responsibility for your actions, but at the same time, horrible life, as well. So in any case, and then it just escalated. It went from lying, stealing, petty crime type of thing, and just escalated from there. It feels like in such a linear fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like we'll preface this like we did on the last episode that we do not condone any of these actions of anyone. We will pick fun at certain things. We'll talk about it. We'll probably find some funny and interesting thing to talk about, but we don't condone these actions. So
yeah,
Steve and I were talking right before you got on a little bit about like in learning more about her childhood and seeing how abusive it was. Like even her dad would threaten to like kill himself around them.
Yeah.
I just mean that the type of trauma that someone goes through, and like it almost seems like, because again, trying to just understand the situation, that almost like through her taking on these tenants and like trying to quote unquote take care of people, she might have been like reliving her time like when she was because after her mom passed away, they lived in an orphanage. She maybe has some like sick twisted thing in her brain that looks like, okay, somehow now I am reenacting this trauma and I'm thinking that I'm doing it right, but all she's doing is reenacting what she experienced when she was younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she is. I mean, you just hear her, she had been, I think if I recall in there, like she had been dying again. This is in the, when was the first time she went to jail? Was in like the 60s?
Or was it the 60s?
Or 70s? No,
she went to jail in the 60s for running a brothel.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's the first time she was picked up. She might have got picked up for like petty theft before that.
Yeah, because she, either way, like she had obviously been in and out of the system for a long time, and had been diagnosed with a number of different things, anywhere from, I think they mentioned schizophrenia to like borderline personality disorder to being a pathological liar, like all of this stuff, and it just felt like nobody could ever. She was just so manipulative and obviously very inept, or very in tune was what I meant to say, with manipulating people and lying to people and preying on their expectations and their sympathies and stuff like that felt like no one ever got a real bead on her. You know what I mean? That
Right.
interview footage, which, not to jump ahead, but that interview footage of her, in the room, like as they're questioning her about ultimately the murders that she was responsible for, was just like chilling. She just feels like such a shell of a person in a way. You know what I mean?
And I feel like she believes in her own innocence. I was going to read the back of the cookbook that I mentioned that I have.
Yeah.
And she says, none of them were murdered. They died of natural causes. I couldn't do that anyhow. I'm not that type of person. I'm too caring and I worry too much about my people eating. Everybody can tell you that. Why would I spend money fattening them up if I was going to kill them? And I also just have to add, it says like Dorothea Puente, convicted killer / gourmet cook. Like,
yeah. It's so,
like, it's
well,
just,
and it just reads like, it's one of those things where like again, this is my armchair psychiatrist here, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, so throw that disclaimer in here. But when you read that, it's one of those things where she's obviously so like manipulative that you start to be like, during even the course of that quote, you're like, yeah, why would she do? But then you hear her verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh no, these people were cattle to her.
Right. Why would I fatten them up? Nobody says that. Nobody
would say that. Yeah. Nobody would speak about these people that she supposedly cared for. She knows the words to say, but then, her other set of eyelids blink sideways, and then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's also just interesting, again, because we're talking that she was kind of an active person from, the 60s to the 80s, but like even before that, she was born in 1929. So like during all that time, like mental health, it still isn't great in America. So it was terrible.
people really don't
back
even
then.
understand schizophrenia.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she might not have been schizophrenic. She might have been a host of other things. She might have just had like a disassociation disorder, where like maybe she really did believe she was helping people, but then just like disassociated in such a way that she would poison people and thought that she was helping them that way, because a lot of the people she preyed upon were other outcasts of societies, people who are mentally ill or homeless or things like that. So
what is that one disease, or like one, I don't know if it's a mental illness, is it Munchausen's? Yeah, it's like kind of has those vibes. Yeah. Kind of has vibes of that. Like maybe she was hoping that people would care about her and stay in ways, maybe to a certain extent. But I don't really think that's the full case, but it kind of has hints of that.
The one that points me towards just like full-on self-serving sociopath is what I think was her first murder, which was when she poisoned Ruth Monroe.
Right.
Because that was like her friend. She wasn't a caretaker for her. She was a successful, hardworking person with a family, and and just happened to have a lot of savings. It sounded like. And she was like, oh, I think I can get this money from this person. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's the one that I'm just like, later on, she tries to focus on like, oh, I was taking care of these people. And obviously she's working with, people who are, had really serious mental health issues and couldn't take care of themselves and that sort of stuff. And were, in a lot of instances homeless or struggling with substance abuse or whatever. But the first one, she straight up slowly murdered her for her money. I mean, she talked her into going into business with her, and then just glommed onto her like a leech and just like sucked the life out of her.
It's so insane how, like, I still just can't fathom, like, at what point do you not recognize that she is lying and she is just taking advantage of you? And like, how did she somehow convince her that to start drinking? Because if we're going to talk about that first murder, like she slowly started drugging her and her kids. I forget the son's name who was on the episode, but he was saying, he's like, Mom, you don't drink. And it's like, oh, well, she just said that it would make me feel better. It's like, lo and behold, it's alcohol and drugs.
To be fair, it was a creme de menthe, and those are really good. So,
so I think it honestly was like she got her to start feeling bad, and she put her by poisoning her prior to that. I thought, like, it's like one of those things where she puts a person in a vulnerable situation where they feel like anything health, and I've dealt with, health issues, even just in the last 5 years myself, where it's like all of a sudden you feel invincible, and then the next minute you're like desperate for an answer because you can't control, what's happening with your body, especially if you don't understand what's happening with your body, and you become very, very vulnerable. And in this instance, probably picked a person who she felt she could psychologically manipulate in that way. You know what I mean? She was very, very cunning in that way. But
that's a really valid point too, because imagine like going from, oh, this is a great opportunity to like, holy shit, my life is upside down. And you start making desperate decisions. And so I can see that's a good point.
And clinging to people who you think care about you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't have a lot of people in my life to help me through this, and everything's falling apart. So you become, all of a sudden, you're at the whim of these people, especially people who are forcing themselves on you at that point, right? But yeah, and then the other really, really creepy part eventually is when, and you know what? I don't know how you can also, like, there has to be a lot of enabling happening whenever she asks like a carpenter that was doing work for her, like, oh, by the way, here's a truck of a guy who works for me. He doesn't use it anymore. Oh, and also, by the way, can you build a box that's 6 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot? And then also, I'm going to fill it up when you're not here. And then can you help me take this box somewhere? Like,
super low key stuff.
How does a carpenter not identify that he's building a coffin? You know what I mean?
Yeah. If the money's right for a lot of people, they just don't even ask the question.
Yeah, right. I get it. Like, she was obviously preying on him to some extent, but like, bro, you're building a coffin. You know that, right?
Not even like a decorative one that, like some people have coffins as bookshelves. I had a friend who had, him and his wife had a coffin bookshelf, and, they were cool. They weren't murderers.
What? She's not, but I don't think Dorothea was really listening to Bauhaus that much. No. You know what I mean? Like,
no. She wasn't making a fancy coffin. She was making the old pine box that you see in Western film.
Exactly. A pauper's coffin for a shallow grave. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we should say that, and for those of you who watched it already know this, and Meg, you might have already mentioned it, but the idea was eventually she got into this situation where she set up a boarding house a couple of different times. I think at one point having as many as like 20 tenants. And then later, her like infamous one in Sacramento had like 8 or something like that. But ultimately, she was taking in these tenants and got to a place where social workers actually suggested her boarding house to their
clients.
To their clients. Yeah. And then she ultimately started murdering them. And then burying their bodies in her backyard so she could continue to collect their pensions and or aid checks of various types. So
yeah, and she would make up stories about where they were when people like would be like, "Where is this person?" Oh yeah, no, they went here. That like she just always make up stories until she would get caught.
Yeah, I think like, and that's kind of like the refinement of her process, because like we were saying, she started with this Ruth Monroe, and she like. That caused like a lot of trouble in her life because the son was like constantly trying to investigate it. Like that gave her a lot of static. But like when she gets to this boarding house situation, she refines herself to like being able to pick the most outcast and I guess essentially the least missed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Alberto, and forget me his last name, but they refer to him as Bert. Like
Montoya.
Montoya.
Yeah. Alberto Montoya. My God, heartbreaking. This poor guy, by all accounts, was this very, gentle, kind guy who really kind of seemed to, at least in some instances, like he understood his mental health, like he knew what he was dealing with, and was dealt an incredibly difficult hand, and she just perfect example. Didn't have a lot. he didn't have any family in the U.S. from what I understand, right? All his family was in Mexico. Was it Mexico?
It was interesting that she would say, because it's from Costa Rica, maybe? Like
Costa
South
Rica.
America.
Yeah. It was farther away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think his family was in like the middle of the country, but she said that he went to Mexico.
Yeah,
that's
with someone else. Yeah,
she told the family he went to Mexico. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that social worker who was like pretty relentless, which is good that she was relentless. You know, she kind of kept on her about it all. And if you want to correct me here, if, with this boarding house where the last one was, she was actually doing it illegally because she was no longer allowed to care for people. And I think it was the Ruth Monroe situation that spawned that.
Yeah, it was part of that, and just her litany of arrests, because she had been changing her last name because she had so many marriages, and then like the paperwork all came out, and they're like, "Oh, you can't do this anymore because you're a criminal multiple times over."
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want a criminal like taking care of your grandmother?
Yeah, she was the type. This was the type of case too, where we see over and over again in like I mean, even as recently as like the 80s and 90s, when like where like different law enforcement organizations didn't really have the obviously didn't have the databases that they have now. So they were really not good at interacting with one another and their records. So you really could change your name, change your appearance a little bit, and just fly under the radar and, hide in plain sight kind of thing. And she leaned into the fact that she was Mexican and grew up in a, family of 18 kids in Mexico or whatever, but she wasn't.
Yeah. We just read that was a lie. Like,
Yeah, it was completely made up. She was part of, obviously her upbringing was traumatic, but she definitely glommed on because a couple of her husbands were of Mexican heritage, I think. So she could glean enough from them, culturally speaking, to pull that off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then the other really creepy thing about her is she always portrayed herself as a lot older than she was, because she knew that if she embodied this like caring older woman, senior citizen, how could she ever be capable of doing this? That she could, again, fly under the radar. And
can we be real, though, that in the 80s, everyone looked at least 50 years older than they actually were. Everyone
But,
did.
there was one picture I saw, and I was like, okay, if you saw that woman now, today, you'd be like, okay, she's 78 years old.
Right.
And they were like, she was 39. I'm like, what?
No.
What? She's 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
Watch this. Kick the cane. Look, she can walk.
It's the real, like, the closer you were to the proximity of the Great Depression, like the older you just looked for no reason at all.
But she also, like, her hair was, completely white. She had these big glasses. Like, she dressed in a very kind of grandmotherly way. You know what I mean? Like, she was playing this part intensely, and it worked for so long.
Yeah, it worked.
I think people even refer to her as that, as even another comment on this. It's like grandmotherly Dorothea Puente is becoming as renowned as for her cooking as being a notorious mass murderer. Like she was always, I think that was her role in all of this.
Yeah. Can we talk for a second about the production on the show? In that they love to add in little dramatized interstitials that are animated.
And it even throughout the series, I think I watched the first 3 episodes. They get even weirder as the series goes on.
But so there's 2 really funny ones that are in this Dorothea story, and the one is just like, wow, what you were talking about, Brian, of like her playing older. And they have this little animation of her hunching over and she hunches over and she makes herself look older, and she curls up like an old person, and then she
looks like a banana.
Yeah, and then she narrows her eyebrows and gets an evil smile. She's like, yes, this is going to trick them all.
Yeah, that's exactly what I knew. She the way I'm imagining it, I only watched the one time, but she's all hunched over, and all of a sudden you just look, and her eyes just become like pointed down, like slits, like she's like a video game villain. She turns into like Sephiroth, in that moment.
Just a real like wacky races, snidely whiplash fucking behavior. But there's another one that happens earlier in the episode when the social worker is calling to find Bert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Dorothea answers the phone and she says Bert's not there. And then the animation is Dorothea hanging up the phone, and then she turns to camera with a cat in her arms, and then she narrows her eyebrows again and smiles and like, yes, I threw them off the trail.
It is seriously very heavy-handed.
Yeah. It's so like
that's so funny.
The animation sucks too. It's like
it's
Newgrounds.
really bad.
Yeah, it's like Newgrounds. It is. Yeah.
I like it in theory, but I get what you're saying. Like
the one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just think I did a good job of like breaking it up, but I do get what you're saying. It was fairly ridiculous.
Yeah.
the next one, was it the next episode or the one after that? Even the next two, because there's the one with the oh boy, where was he from? He was
he was Asian.
Yeah.
He was Asian, but I forget which country.
Yeah, him, and then the one after that with like the guy who was like this like like marathon runner one. I don't know if you saw that one. The animations get even more silly and evil, almost like they're like supernatural or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? They always portray them as like they're some sort of supernatural villain, demons or something. It's very strange.
Yeah, I kind of fell asleep on the one with the super runner that was like didn't run but sometimes had to drop out. Weird, but
I only got halfway through that one too.
The one with the one that follows after with Casey Joy and Maribel. And Casey is he's the murderer, and like all the animations are him just standing around like
in the background,
right, just
really
in the
creepy.
background looking menacing, just like what are the cops trying to find? I'm one step ahead.
Yeah, you think he's gonna like put on a top hat, you know what I mean? He's like and like run away.
I think it'd be more funny if he's like smoking a cigar back there too.
But they really try to turn him into this supervillain, and then you see again, obviously a I'm not trying to defend this guy at all, but when you see the juxtaposition between his photo of him just like this smiley looking normal guy and then the cartoon version of him is like this like super villain type of guy. It's so strange.
And not to stray too much, but like with that one, like that guy was doing something very similar to Dorothea because he was putting on like a fake Asian accent.
Yeah,
because he grew up in America since a kid, so he didn't have that that kind of the Asian accent of broken English. He started doing that to trick the cops. Yeah, so he's like doing the same thing that Dorothea did, where Dorothea was trying to play older, and he's like trying to be, I'm just a simple Asian man. You can't, I would never do such a thing.
Yeah, I can't speak. Yeah, this is all getting lost in translation kind of thing, where like playing up the accent like dramatically. Yeah. So, but you know what? It obviously, I mean, for Dorothea, it worked so well as like when I heard that they found 7 bodies in her backyard in various states of decomposition, and in some instances with their hands and heads removed. Yeah. It's not like, my friend, I'm a crazy old lady and my friend died and I buried them in the backyard. Heads and hands removed, wrapped in burlap. Like the idea is she didn't want them to be found, and she sure as hell didn't want them to be identified, which I couldn't help but think of one of my favorite movies, which is The Burbs. Like this has to be influenced in some capacity, right? I mean, The Burbs, I feel like it's the first time that somebody's ever been buried in a backyard, but it's just, I couldn't help but immediately think of The Burbs when they showed that footage of the backyard, which just dug up everywhere because they were finding so many bodies in this tiny little backyard. Yeah,
because I think they didn't have it entirely dug yet, but when she fled, because he was just like, okay, we found something, we need to like keep digging, she fucking ran.
Oh yeah. And you remember the one where they did that animation of them in the backyard and the animation of her like, staring out the window at them?
So creepy.
She's like, hi. But yeah, then so anyway, they find 7 bodies in her backyard, and the jury still deliberated for 24 days and only found her guilty of 3 of the 9 murders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I actually think but they weren't even murders. She got convicted of theft.
Well, she did get sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So I think ultimately...
Oh, that was the first one. Sorry, that was the first one. Sorry, that's my bad.
I think ultimately they got her on 3 of the 9 murders, but they were seeking the death penalty, and and eventually she got life without parole.
Yeah, I got you.
Wild
I see that.
stuff.
Yeah, and they were hung
stuff.
on the other 6. I'm just so confused, but I get on why they didn't have that evidence. I mean, I'm even surprised. I don't recall seeing if Chief, which that was the handyman's name, did he not go on the stand? You know what I mean? This could have put him away. I even thought that the Sharp character, the guy that was also living there, could have put her away too.
Yeah, it was weird. She definitely played the part well and influenced the jury, and who knows what else, in the proceedings of the case took place, that who was able to testify, who wasn't, and what they were able to talk about and all that stuff. When you hear these crazy, hung jury cases or just these crazy verdicts you don't expect, there's a million other variables that we don't know that happened during the course of that case. But just surface level, you're like, wait, they found 7 bodies in her backyard and she was only convicted of 3 of 9 murders. I don't, you know what I mean? But wild stuff. That interview footage, so eerie. They're like, that we found the bodies in your backyard. And she's just like, well, I sure don't know how they got there. It's just so creepy. So creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious that even right at that point with the drug overdose, how good was the inspection of this? They could say it was drug overdose, but tying it to her, say, prescriptions or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably really hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess at that point, because they did the toxicology on Ruth, but everything that was found in her may or may not necessarily have been something that Ruth had.
Right.
But they found all the pills that were throughout Dorothea's house later on when she was doing the boarding house, but I guess all of those bodies would have been decomposed, so you wouldn't have been able to do toxicology on them.
For sure. Those capsules just everywhere, all over her house is empty capsules. But yeah, it's wild, and you have to assume that a lot of the fact that her victims were of the, what do they call them kind of in true crime writing, call them the less dead or something like that, where it's basically saying, or isn't what am I messing up my terms, when they're basically saying that these people in the eyes of society and law enforcement and all that, they were homeless, they suffered from mental illness, substance abuse, all that sort of thing. So it's the system just inherently doesn't care about them as much. And they don't have money or family or connections or anything to help defend them. So it's they're going to always be at a huge disadvantage when it comes to convicting the murderer of someone who doesn't have those things. You know what I mean? Which is obviously very, really sad. It goes without saying. It's just heartbreaking, but...
I'm waiting for Netflix just to do an actual show on her. I feel kind of Inventing Anna-esque, and just to see and really go dive deeper, because I'm sure they probably could dramatize it. And I think this story is interesting enough because she somehow, I think, tricked people in a lot of ways and somehow got away with it,
Yeah. You know what they would probably do, though? They would probably cast someone who is... they cast Anne Hathaway or something that says her, something fucking just so stupid, just to put a name associated with it. And then they would just put old lady glasses on her and be like, wow, you're 79 years old.
See, you say it, but a good casting for that would be Glenn Close.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Or Frances McDormand.
Yeah.
Either of those two. They're good actresses, and they they can pull off playing older than they are. So
yeah, I mean, look at I remember being blown away by oh my gosh, Monster, Charlize Theron. Oh my god,
no,
Charlize Theron. Yeah,
Charlize Theron. Again, I've much mouth this morning. In Monster, she obviously did a fantastic job in that, and there was makeup effects and all that sort of thing. But you could. There's if you got the right performer, they could absolutely pull that off.
I even think another good person. Who's the woman who played in Misery? years ago.
Oh, Kathy Bates.
She might be good.
Kathy Bates is how old? Kathy Bates is getting up there though in terms of age currently, but she's fantastic in everything she does. But anyway, ham. What's up with that ham situation?
It's gone at this point, guys. I was just sitting here mowing it down.
We were watching like, you just slam this ham.
Yeah, so I decided for this episode that we were talking about we should cook a couple recipes together, but we're not in person today. But I decided on Dorothea's spicy mango ham steak. And I'll take a picture. We established
is an album name. Should be an album name.
Yeah. And
Dorothea spicy mango ham steak.
I feel like this also borders on would be a great substitute for rum ham for whatever reason. I think that would be good. We'll post a picture of like the recipe and stuff. It has like red wine as like almost like this base, mixing that with sugar and jalapenos to almost caramelize it. And then I didn't have a blender where I'm at right now, but I just chopped up a mango. Usually they want you to like pulverize it.
Sure.
And you mix those together and then basically cook up your ham and pour it over it. It's like a pretty simple recipe. I 10 out of 10 would actually cook this again. Like it's actually really good. It
sounds good. If you put anything with ham and fruit, peaches, anything, literally any type of fruit on ham, I am going to eat the fuck out of it. Also, if you put any other things on ham.
I never heard of peaches. That's interesting though.
Yeah, I do. I did a ham. I usually do for Christmas or something like that. Because normally I'm all turkeyed out by Christmas.
Sure.
So I like to make a ham or porchetta or something like that. And I did sour cherry preserves on like mixed with brown sugar for a glaze on ham. Was so good. I've done peach, apricot. I mean, mango I've never done, but it sounds awesome. I will fuck up pretty much ham, just in general. But anything sweet with the saltiness, smokiness of ham, my goodness.
Yeah.
Love it. Sorry, I'm just getting sweaty talking about ham.
Just think about ham. Get me sweaty.
I'm just getting sweaty.
Meg, in the cookbook, it was mentioned in the show how like every Tuesday or Wednesday was like burrito night for the boarding house and the people in the neighborhood. Do they have a burrito recipe in there?
I'm gonna find it, but I'm almost positive they do. There is definitely tamales. So Dorothea's homemade tamales. She also had a couple times would do like jailhouse style like stuff, like variations,
like Bruno and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of freaking weird.
Toilet wine. Dorothea's famous spicy mango toilet wine.
Oh yeah, burritos poor man style, and then tamales prison style are in here.
Okay. Oh my god, read us something about prison style tamales, please.
Okay. Well, there's I wish there were a little bit more stories to each one of these. So it's just a pack of tortillas, a can of chili without beans, a can of roast beef. What the fuck is that, Brian? I assume you know.
That's Hormel.
Yeah, I have several varieties in my can of roast beef.
Yeah.
You can buy
is it kind of spam-like?
Chickens, whole chickens with the bones.
Ugh.
No, it's not. It's not spam like Meg. It's much more like just sitting in gravy and chunks.
Yeah.
God.
It looks like wet dog food.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm like. Exactly what I would probably feed my dog.
But it tastes delicious.
Okay, I don't believe you. There's jalapenos, chili powder, garlic, cloves, cheese.
Wait, where are you getting cloves in prison?
Didn't you see Goodfellas?
It says minced. I mean, you could probably get minced.
I know, but she wasn't a mom.
Maybe she's growing it. Maybe she was growing it somewhere.
Her window
growing
box.
It out of the toilet. Yeah,
her window box.
1 pack chicken broth and 1.5 cups hot water is the tamales prison style. So mashed tortilla strips fine. Pour hot water and chicken broth with 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder. Put can of chili, roast beef, cheese, garlic, minced jalapenos in bowl. How can she mince jalapenos in jail too? Mix well.
A sharpened toothbrush.
Yeah. Get 18 pieces of saran wrap. Place masa in center. Put 18. Meat mixture in center of masa. Roll up. Place in plastic bag. Steam 3.5 hours. Ready to eat.
I love that she is cooking for a crowd in prison.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
right?
not just for yourself. She's
I mean, when
cooking
you
for a
make
whole crowd.
tamales, though, are you ever only making like
One tamale?
No, you got to make a
Like-
mess of tamales.
Yeah.
Like, last time I made tamales, I had them in the because they do freeze well. I had them in the
Cool.
freezer for a year. I made so many of them.
There are things like chicken gizzards, hearts, and livers.
Yeah.
Just sounds disgusting.
Yes.
But it sounds like something, Brian. Brian, I really think this cookbook is for you. Like,
I've eaten gizzards. I've eaten chicken liver many times, but I've not had a chicken heart. I don't think. But I am getting the meat sweats.
yeah, I was gonna
Just
say
thinking
you're gonna have
about
that
it.
this week for dinner.
So here's the thing about if you. I'll put everybody on a TikTok space to look for. Jail TikTok is pretty good.
Yeah.
I've seen one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen one, and we're talking about cooking in jail and cooking for a group. I saw one. They had stripped a bed, and the bed was one of those just flat metal plates with a mattress on top of it attached to a wall. So they stripped the mattress off of it, put a bunch of toilet paper underneath it, set the toilet paper on fire, and they created a flat top iron grill.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was.
They literally had a flat top.
Yeah,
like
it was so fun.
they had what are those things that like every like suburban dad is buying right
Like
now?
a griddle.
Yeah, but they're like outdoor griddle things, a Blackstone or whatever.
Oh, okay.
What is it
Yeah,
called?
yeah.
Yeah, they basically made a jailhouse Blackstone grill.
Yeah, and they were like grilling shit on that. I was like, that's fucking ingenious, but you guys are going to get so much trouble.
That's what I was gonna say. Do they not like? There's a vent hood. Like, where's the smoke going?
That's so funny. There's some desserts, but Brian, I think this one's also up your alley. Lazy Lady fruitcake.
Okay.
And it's just like a yellow cake mix. Use apple juice instead of milk or water. Cinnamon, cloves, candied fruit, and chopped nuts. Super easy.
Oh, that actually sounds fucking good.
Another dessert that I was really eyeing is this pumpkin ginger pudding. This sounds bomb.
So, question, Meg, is so she wrote this, or she worked with this author to write this book. You know, this wasn't published posthumously, right? This was when she was still alive. This was
She was
published, right?
alive and in jail.
Yeah. So, was there any like angle from, because she maintained her innocence forever, right? She never admitted to anything, did she? I feel like she maintained her innocence. So, if this is kind of like, I mean, what's the tone of the book from the author? Meaning, like, is it kind of like, hey, wink, wink, she killed these people? Or is it just like, because I mean, the cover says serial killer on it.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that, so giving you a couple examples of what the tone is, things like this, I feel like I'll speak on why I think this is the case. It says, my sister-in-law was a vegetarian. I have lots of friends that are vegetarian. You can take the nuts or the vegetables out and add me with the lentils. Because she had there's like a lentil loaf, there's a veggie burger in here. Mm-hmm. And in the back, there's a transcript of the author talking to Dorothea. And I see this note of here. It's like prison interruption. Dorothea, you can still hear me, no? Shane, which is the author. Yeah, that interruption is crap. I had a great idea. I want you to send me some recipes. I was thinking of maybe doing a cookbook. So what we talked about, again, going back to that episode in the New Orleans, when I was talking about Museum of Death, is that you kind of in ways have to play the people to get what you want out of them. Like this author probably knew tenfold, like if he was a dick or was rude or condescending, he would have not gotten any of this from her.
Right.
So,
right. And I know that there are obviously laws around, how people can't, like how a murderer couldn't sell, like a convicted murderer couldn't sell the rights to their story to a, you know what I mean, a studio or something like that, because you can't profit off of your crimes.
Right. But other people can, though. You can, and I think that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah. That's why I'm always curious about what the nature of these types of things are. Like who is in the know, who isn't, like how, you know what I mean? I'm just always curious.
Yeah.
But, so this is definitely going to lead me down a path of, prison cooking. Because I love
that'll
to
be
watch...
your entry to TikTok.
Yeah, I love watching people do like cook elaborate things like while camping, like in the woods.
Sure.
Like I like to watch like YouTube videos of like a guy goes into the woods with like a stick and makes like, you know, a rack of lamb or something. You know, I love those types of things. And this is just a natural evolution of that, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except for instead of like having to start a fire in -20-degree weather, you just have to roll up little pieces of toilet paper to build a fire under your bunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Just search prison TikTok. It'll get you there. You'll find.
That's what I'm gonna do as soon as I get off the phone here. So
prison TikTok. Oh boy, boys and ghouls. Well, anything else on Dorothea? Would we suggest The Worst Roommate Ever to check out on the Netflix?
If you want it's a very surface level. I think this story, getting it in less than an hour, is not going to do justice to understanding like all of the details, understanding who the people she murdered. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
So
they did an okay job of because a lot of times you watch these things or you listen to these things and it's all about the murder, and they really don't focus on the victims enough, I think. And this one, I think they do a pretty decent job of that.
Yeah.
But it does feel like one of those series where the best story they had was this one, and they kind of, you know, shot their wad in the very first one, and then it seems to go pretty hard downhill after the first episode.
Yeah.
I only watched 1.5 more episodes, but it went pretty dramatically downhill, I thought, in terms of just my interest level.
Yeah. I like I said, I fell asleep on the one about the runner, and then I woke up, I think, on like the last episode. And the last episode, like, is just a really annoying guy. But
this guy is so annoying,
and like everybody, like he's still a fucking monster because he does wind up killing his brother in the end. But like, yeah, he's just really annoying to like other annoying people. So you're kind of like,
he's so annoying. Yeah. He's so frightening, and he never wears his shirt. It's just dancing. It's about Glenn Danzig.
Yeah. So you're not like, this guy's a monster, but these other people are also kind of annoying, and I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I took it to.
And the animation goes severely down as well. They just switched to like doing wipe effects of like somebody drew the outside of a building that they're talking about, and then they do a wipe effect to like the actual building. It's like, well, what the fuck was that?
Why'd you even draw that if you had a picture of the actual building?
Right.
It's like it becomes like Flash. It's just like Homestar Runner.
Yeah, it really was. It was fucking awful. I was like, like Meg was saying, it's super surface level. I think every other story is fine for an hour because they're not that interesting. But like, this Dorothea story could be expanded to something bigger if they wanted to.
Yeah. Well, when I started watching it, I thought it was going to be a multi-part thing on just her. I didn't realize she was just the first episode. And then when, of course, when we went on the second episode, I was like, oh, wait, no, this got wrapped up pretty quick. So, worth an hour or so. But Meg, thoughts? Any final thoughts?
No. If anyone wants any random recipes, just DM me and I will just shoot you a random picture. But if I do that, you have to cook it and you have to tell us about it.
Yes, good. I like that. And whoever submits the most appetizing murder recipe gets one sticker.
We have to make it a little more interesting.
I'm just kidding. Oh, by the way, the offer, I'm getting low on the stickers, but I have sent out some more, but feel free, as always, if you want to get some Halloween is Forever stickers sent your way, send us a little DM, or preferably, if you would be so kind as to go on one of the podcast apps of your choice, whether it be Apple Podcasts, or I'm told you can do this on Spotify now in some capacity. Rate and review. Write a little nice thing on there for us. Screenshot it real quick. Send in the old DMs, and I'll send you some stickies. And, while you're at it, follow us on the social medias as well, because we are always doing some spooky ooky content on there. And let me also remind you, next week, Bigfoot horror showdown episode. It's going to be a fucking slobber knocker, a barn burner, if you will. A reminder, the movies that you are going to be required to watch before you listen to the episode, and we will know if you don't watch them in their entirety. Willow Creek is going to be Meg's movie. Not to put you on the spot, do you know where it is? Where it's streaming?
No, but while you figure it out, I will look it up.
Okay.
Is it not
and then
Tubi?
Steve...
I thought they were all.
It might be.
I thought they were all on Tubi. But
if they're not on Tubi, just watch some other stuff on Tubi.
It is on Tubi. Yep.
Hail to Tubi. Willow Creek is on Tubi. Exists. Steve, do you know where that one is? Tubi. And then Suburban Sasquatch was born and thrives on Tubi, boys and ghouls. All three of those movies are on Tubi. So that's going to give you a good indication of what you are in store for. Meg, were you saying something?
No, I saw you can also watch Willow Creek through Amazon Prime, but it's IMDb, because I was almost going to say if there was an option for without commercials, but I don't think there is.
Yeah, no, support your local Tubi. All right, so I'm going to get shirts made that says support your local Tubi.
God.
Well, we have Tubi and Booby shirts that people can go buy on the
Oh, yeah,
TeePublic.
that's right, Tubi. Yeah, go on our TeePublic if you haven't already. There's a whole assortment of asimine shirts
Oh my God.
that we've
They're
created.
ridiculous.
That we've come up with the idea and that Steve has created the art for. There's some. What are some other gems that we have on there? I know we have Virginia is for horrors.
Yep, we have Virginia is for horrors.
I own that shirt. I purchased it from our own TeePublic store.
Which it was just a real slap together one, but hey, if people want it.
I know. I wore it to work.
Yeah, we've got that one. We've got, just some nice logos. We got some logos going on. We have the All About That Grussy.
Oh, God.
That's a personal favorite. I probably should order that one as well.
Nobody's bought All About That Grussy. We have Nothing Gets You High Like...
By the way, Grussy is gremlin.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. And it's in the Greta Gremlin kind of design around it. Yeah.
So everybody wants to talk about going goblin mode nowadays, but nobody wants to get all that Grussy. So whatever. We have a Splurt.
Stop offending Steve over here.
We have a Splurt t-shirt. We have a Merkenwork t-shirt. We have a Nothing Gets You High Like Drugs shirt.
With a Z.
With a Z.
Drugs with a Z. Yeah, that's a
I
great
really
one.
want that Tubi and Booty. I think I need to buy
Tubi and
it.
Booty. It's like Netflix and chill.
Yeah. We have Tubi and Booby and Tubi and Booty. I think that covers all of the sexual proclivities. So
yes.
Yeah.
Ends there. No more.
So go order all those on TeePublic. Wear them. They are all safe for work. I vouch for it. You will not get in trouble. If your boss says you can't wear a Grussy shirt at work, have your boss call me. I will explain to him why it's okay, and you won't get in trouble.
We'll send a note and some stickers.
A doctor's excuse from us. I will forge it on a prescription pad, which I have stole from a real life doctor. I will forge on it that you are allowed to wear this shirt to work. It is an emotional support shirt. So, all right. Join us next week as we talk about all this. As we enter what I can only describe as a Squatch-tastic voyage.
As we all join the Foot Clan.
That was a good one, and I appreciate that one a lot. Let's take a moment to enjoy that joke. All right. If there's nothing else, boys and ghouls, for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.